Hi, good afternoon. Today's webinar, Exploring New Sales Opportunities, is scheduled to begin soon. We are just going to wait a few more minutes to allow other registrants to log on and get settled. My name is Renato Segecco. I'm the business educator, or one of the business educators at Floriology Institute, and I'll be introducing the other business educator, Charlie Howard, BloomNet's Director of Products and Services, and I'll also be moderating today's sessions. We also have a special guest with us today, Jackie Lacey, AIFD, CFD, PFCI, and he'll be providing us with a florist perspective on some of the material we're about to present. We know your time is valuable, so we have scheduled this webinar to go for about 20 minutes of presentation and about 10 minutes for Q&A if there are questions in the queue. So there are a lot of exciting things happening at Floriology Institute. So I hope you've been following us on Facebook and are visiting floriologyinstitute.com for the latest news, blog posts on a wide range of topics. We also have 3 upcoming courses this fall. The first one will feature Donald Yim, AIFD, Reinventing Everyday Design from September 10th through 12th. Next up will be Jackie in his class, Celebrating Life Every Day from October 22nd to the 26th, and a new course called Floral Operations for Profitability from November 5 through 6 that will feature our speaker today, Charlie, and he will share more about it at the end of this webinar. So for more information or to register, visit floriologyinstitute.com/register. Thank you for your patience, and the webinar will begin shortly. So it's a little bit after 4 p.m. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Renato Segecco, business educator at Floriology Institute, and we're happy to present today's webinar, Exploring New Sales Opportunities, with Charlie Howard, BloomNet's Director of Products and Services. And as mentioned, we also have a special guest, Jackie Lacey. He's the Director of Education here at Floriology, and he will be lending insight and perspectives from his experience as a florist. For those who don't know Charlie, he certainly brings a wealth of experience of running a successful floral business here right in Jacksonville at Kuhn's. Before we begin in earnest, I'd like to ask Charlie to share a little bit more about himself and his experience.
Oh, thank you, Renato. Basically, my experience is 25 years as a florist, and for the most part, I was in the financial operations side and did very, very little as far as the design go, but I do know how to deliver flowers, and I know what drives all the costs for the flower shop, so hopefully I can bring a lot of experience and knowledge to you to help you run your flower shop and make it profitable.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlie. Just another housekeeping note. If you do have any questions throughout the broadcast, please type them in the Questions tab in your GoToWebinar control panel. So that you'll see a little tab down at the bottom. There should also be a chat function. So enter your questions in chat. So with that, Charlie, please take it away.
Thank you, Renato. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today on Exploring New Sales Opportunities. On our last webinar, we looked at our current sales profile, which included our demographics, our competition, and where our sales are coming from, by payment type, by product group, whether they're fresh flowers, greenhouse, giftware, and so forth. We talked about the source that their flowers or the orders are coming from, basically walk-in, phone, web, or an incoming, and how your orders are being delivered, will call, delivery, or wiring out. When you put all of those things together, you kind of get to see what your profile looks like. And now that you know that, we're going to try to explore a little bit about how we can increase those sales. And the first thing is that as we look at the slide, we're looking at buying a competitor. And before I go any further, I have to let you know that buying a competitor is not a 20-minute webinar that I can give you a crash course on how to buy one. What I'm trying to do with this particular topic is to just get you thinking about buying one or the opportunity to buy one and what it can do for you. The first thing you kind of have to look at is, number one, do you have the resources? And when we're talking about resources, number one, it's going to take time to actually sit down with a competitor and bang out a deal and work out all of the details and get the lawyer involved and all those other little things that come along with it. The other big thing is that you got to have some money. And those are the two things that are going to really dictate whether or not you're in a position to go ahead and buy it. When you're looking at the shop, you want to understand, why is the shop available? Is the owner retiring, or is the owner in trouble? What is the sales volume, and are they profitable? There's no sense in trying to pick up another florist if they're in very tough shape and so forth, then you're going to end up having to throw a lot of money at it to keep it going until you can consolidate your operation. So with that said, if you take an example that you're in a town of 11 other florists, and one florist is going out of business or wants to sell, and that shop does $200,000 in business on annual sales, in theory, if no one bought that shop, the $200,000 in sales would not go away, but they would be theoretically equally distributed among the 10 remaining, which would be $20,000. Now, if you got a $20,000 increase in your volume annually, it might be a nice little bump, but in all honesty, you're not going to see too much really dropping down to the bottom line. However, if you picked up the whole $200,000, all of a sudden you might go from being a $300,000 shop up to a $500,000 shop, and all of a sudden you're buying a little bit better quantities, you're buying a little cheaper, and your operation is running a little smoother because instead of that van only going out half empty, it's now going out 3/4 full. Jackie, do you have anything to add on that?
Charlie, just one thing I'd like to add here is remember that when you're buying a competitor, you're buying their name. So you'll want to be sure and do due diligence to make sure that you have checked out, is that going to be something you have to overcome, or is it something that's going to enhance your existing business? You want to bring that into your brand and rebrand it a bit so that you carry that forward. But just do your homework, make sure that you check everything out from every direction.
Those are very good points, Jackie. And the other thing of it is that normally when you inherit or buy a competitor, one of the things that you want to do, if you can, is to keep their phone number, because a lot of people have their phone numbers pre-programmed, and if there's a change in ownership, if you can hold on to that phone number, you keep the customer. The second thing that we're going to talk about today is basically that existing customer base. And are you doing everything you possibly can to keep your customer happy and taking care of all their needs? And if we get back to the basics again, we have to give them a high-quality product at a competitive price, on-time delivery, and great service with all their inquiries. And I realize it's easier said than done, but basically that's what you stand behind, and that's what people remember you. What kind of arrangement did we get? Was it on time? Am I happy with it? Or do they have complaints? Next thing is you try to remind your customers every month. You can do it with a special, you can do it with a sale, but give them some reason just to remember your name or to stop by your shop and at least call you. Third thing, thank the customer. Let them know that you really appreciate their business. And believe it or not, the people that get that compliment normally will remember it and they will buy again from you. Right? Now, the third opportunity is probably your toughest one that you've got to do. How do I get new customers? How do I get them to buy from me? And part of that is going to come to the marketing, but I want to emphasize one thing. When you're filling an order, you've got a recipient. What are you doing with that information? Are you tracking it? Are you going back to the recipient and reminding them that, hey, you know, I gave you a good arrangement. I'm sure there's somebody on your list that you want to give someone to, and hopefully you'll think of me. So sometimes you can send out a flyer to a new customer or a recipient to make them a new customer, or you can send them a flyer or a postcard or just do something to remind them that, hey, you know, you did get an arrangement from us. I hope you were satisfied with it, and I hope you remember. But on both existing and attracting new customers, marketing plays a big role in keeping your name out in front of your existing customer, as well as attracting new customers. So we go back to your sales profile. The money in the source. One of the features that you can offer is a house account. That's where basically you end up billing the customer. There's the pros and cons. You do build loyalty by having that house charge, but you also have the headache of now collecting that receivable that you billed them for. And in some cases, you actually have to get a collection agency involved to get your money back. Walk-in traffic. If you have a shop that has visibility and it's easy to get to and you can encourage walk-in traffic, then you have to give the customer a reason why to stop. That might be by offering a free rose, come in to see our new display or product line. At Jacksonville, we had Santa and the Easter Bunny that you could come and have a picture taken with your kids at that time. And it brought in people that never, ever stopped at our shop to take a look at it, but we gave them a reason why to come in. We have had a couple open houses, but to be totally honest with you, they don't really work too well here in Jacksonville, but they might work in your market. And again, you're creative in designing those flower arrangements. You're going to have to get creative in ideas on how you can bring people off the street and into your shop. The next item would be the website. Do you have one? If not, you better get one because that's the way the future is going. But if you have one and you're not satisfied with the traffic or you're not getting very many orders, then I really suggest that you contact Renato and his group and get them to help you do that magic that he does in his department. Renato, can you say anything about that?
Yeah, certainly. If you guys are finding that who doesn't want more web traffic? Because more web traffic usually leads to more clicks and therefore more conversions and sales. So if you're interested in building more traffic, it's all about digital marketing practices. So you may have heard of search engine optimization. That's to build rank on your website. There's also an opportunity for florists to just outright pay for clicks with search marketing. You also want to engage your local community and your customers via social media and writing a blog on your website. And I think the fourth thing that I think you guys need to consider is your online reputation, and how that is really determined nowadays is really the quantity and quality of the reviews that people leave about your business. So if you visit floriologyinstitute.com/digital marketing, we do have a program that could help you out. So thanks for the plug, Charlie.
Oh, you're welcome. The next thing is kind of a novel concept for some people, and for others it's been around for a long time. We used to call it a trade credit. Some people call it bartering. But basically what you would do is you would line up advertisers or people that can do good things for your business if you do good things for them. So basically what you can do is set up a trade credit where you will trade your flowers at full retail price for their goods or services at their fair price. What you have to understand is that when you give them a $100 arrangement and it only costs you $35 to make that arrangement because you're keeping your cost of goods right around 35%, all right? And you're trading it for advertising that you're paying supposedly full price for. In all honesty, you've bought it at a discount of, 2/3. Again, there are some companies that you can do that with and some you can't. Now, we were able to do it with the newspaper. We were able to do it with the radio. And sometimes you can do it with the TV. But all of those advertising modes pretty much now are kind of gone by the wayside because it's become very, very expensive to use all three of those. But it's not to say that we're going to rule it out, but it's something that you can do. The last thing is signage and logos. In order to keep your name out in front of the public, they've got to see your name. One of the things is that delivery vehicle, you should have that plastered up with your name and phone number all over it so there's no doubt that, hey, that's our flower shop. Didn't you see our vehicle? And yes, you will get the call from a driver that basically said, hey, your driver just cut me off or stopped in front of me or something along that line, and unfortunately you have to talk to your driver about, hey, this is a mobile billboard and you have to behave yourself and make sure you don't upset anyone because then they're definitely not going to buy from us. But make sure that you've got your logo and everything on the arrangement going out. So if you've got enclosure cards, make sure they understand that it came from your flower shop and there's a phone number that they can call, because when that girl at the office gets those flowers and her other buddies see it and so forth, who are they going to call? They're going to call you because they've got your number. How about you, Jackie? Have you got anything you want to add in that group?
Well, I want to circle back up to the existing customer base, because I agree with you. We don't take enough care of the clients that we currently have, and we spend a lot of time worrying about new clients that we want to bring in, when you can really increase a lot of your sales by just taking better care of them. Providing a reminder service, providing the services for them that no one else in town does. Christmas decorating, reminding them about anniversaries, birthdays, things like that. Those are all really good ways to take care of your existing client base, as well as offering those to the new customers that you bring in. So be sure and add that to your repertoire of what you offer, because services are a hot commodity right now. People really want more out of everything that they're buying and purchasing, and that's a great way that you can get ahead of the competition in town by offering things no one else is.
Well, Jackie, I just wanted to chime in there because I had just recently dove into this millennial study talking about InShop Experiences is a good way of treating customers better, like having design classes or a flower bar in the shop. Like, what's your opinion about those types of that type of activity to get your brand out there and engage more with the customer?
Well, I think it's incredibly important, because it's getting harder and harder today to get people in your front door, because millennials love buying online and getting that instant gratification that they've just purchased something and they didn't have to leave the comfort of their home. You want them in your store, because when you have them in front of you, you have the opportunity to sell them other things that they may not even know that they need, or that go along with what they are there to purchase. So anything you can do to get them in. I quite often, and was very successful in all of my shops, and having a ladies' night out. And I would group with a club, a ladies' club or organization in town, offer them my space, and help them design or decorate a wreath for the door or a centerpiece for their table. Ask them to bring in plant clippings from their own lawn, because people love using things that they've grown themselves, and when they put it together, they get the satisfaction of telling their family and friends at home, look at what I did. They're going to remember where they did that and come back in to make those purchases for birthday, holiday, sympathy, things like that, because you were there helping them design that, create something for themselves. So I agree 100%. Anything you can do to bring them in is going to be a good idea. Try it. If it doesn't work, then you don't want to do that. Go to the next thing. There's a whole list of opportunities just waiting for you there.
And then I just want to tack on that I mean those events are awesome opportunities to really create a lot of social media buzz, you know, by offering those folks that post photos or invite their friends, even more incentives to drive more traffic to your business, both electronically and physically into the shop.
Absolutely.
Those are all real good points. And then the last piece that we come to is basically product offerings. And I'm basically just targeting flowers right now because most of us have flowers in our shop name. But the bottom line is that we need to, as Jackie said, we need to keep their customers interested in giving, sending, and getting flowers. And it's easy to fall into a routine and offer the same design year over year. So remember the 5 season changes. We've got spring, summer, fall, winter, and the holidays. And avoid using the same colored containers and change up the flower mix a little bit. The next item is price points, which you always have to be sensitive that when you're pricing out your line that you look at the price points and make sure that whether the guy has $20 coming into your shop or he's got $500, you want to make sure that you're going to get whatever he's got in his pocket to spend on those flowers. If he's only a $20 buyer, then hey, we got a little plant for you or a little fancy bud vase. And if he's got $500, you can have almost the whole store. But the bottom line is that you've got to basically make sure that you have price points that you're going to cover everyone that's in your market. So you never want to say, well, oh, that shop, it's too expensive. They don't offer anything that I can afford. You've got to make sure that you can, if they've only got the $20, get the $20. The next one is selling off of the menu. As you first start out and so forth, it's easier to offer a menu as well as you can do custom arrangements. And Jackie can probably expound on that a little bit better, but the bottom line is that it makes it easier when you get to designing the arrangements. If you're doing the same thing, you know what the same flowers are going to be used, and you can really start getting a little bit of productivity out of your design staff by doing that. And the last item is basically just the add-ons, and a lot of times we get a little lax in offering the add-ons. And when I'm talking about add-ons, it's basically the Mylar balloon, it's the plush, it's the chocolate. One of the other things that you can do is you can add roses to it. We had a deal at Kuhn's where you could add 3 roses to any arrangement for $10. How about you, Jackie?
Well, one thing I want to talk about is on price points. Making sure you're well aware of what your market will bear is incredibly important. Knowing what your competition offers, who else is around in your particular area, who are you, what's your target market in the area, and really understanding that is going to help you gauge what you can ask for. And then also when it comes to price points, remember, when you answer the question of what is your minimum, you've just sold that value in floral product. I encourage you to instead go with, respond to that question with my most popular price point or my favorite level is at this, and start maybe $15, $20 above what your minimum is. You can always go down. Everyone doesn't always have that $50, but also don't decide because your pocketbook won't allow you to buy an arrangement at this price point that the person you're working with also doesn't have that budget. We never know. Someone could be dressed in a dirty pair of jeans with a tank top or a t-shirt on and own half the town. So don't profile just because of the way they look, what they drive, or what they're asking about. Offer what your most popular price is, and then go from there. Look for opportunities to maximize the income that's coming in.
Yeah, I'd like to challenge that. So even if you start at a price point that may be $15, $20 above your popular price point, what are some strategies to either investigate, probe the customer, to pivot, to see if they could tolerate a higher price point?
Well, I think, Renato, one of the things that we fall into is that we tell them what they're going to spend rather than pushing them to tell us what they want to spend. Allow them the opportunity to tell you. What budget were you looking at? Where did you want to be? Is this a milestone birthday or event that you're sending to? We have to create the importance on what we're selling so that they understand the level they need to buy in at. Most people are intuitive enough to know that if it's a 30 birthday or 50, something like that, or if it's your mom, or if you're in the doghouse, you need to put some zeros behind what you're buying, because that's going to make the difference. You know, what kind of impression? So I think using those keywords that lead someone to the importance of what they're doing is a great way to guide them in their budget, and then continue to push them to tell you where they want to be. Quite often, if we're just honest and upfront, and we do say, you know, my most popular price point is $75, because it allows my designers the opportunity to add in beautiful lilies and roses and more upscale floral product. But if you're not looking for that price range, what's comfortable for you? Again, we haven't gone back down to the minimum, and we're allowing them to tell us what's going to make them comfortable.
No, I do want to respond to that point, but I also want to mention to you guys, like what we mentioned at the beginning, if you have a question, please drop it into the questions tab. And I know we have about 4 minutes left in the session, so if you want to ask any questions for Charlie, Jackie, or myself, please do at this time, and we'll certainly answer them. But one thing that I did want to add is having a menu of price points definitely does resonate with millennials. In a lot of the studies that we have access to, you know, millennials do appreciate the art and craftsmanship of unique flower arrangements that come from a florist, but in their mind, they immediately say that they can't afford it. So it's almost like, you know, if you were able to get a millennial on the phone or have a millennial in the shop, you know, what Jackie described as you know, these kind of probing questions will serve you well, because, and like what Charlie said, if they got only 20 bucks to spend, get the 20 bucks from them, but be sure that you do a good job in conveying you do have options for pretty much like the same design and the same concept. And I know, Jackie, that you know, you have a lot of great thoughts about selling to, you know, the different generations. So would you provide some insight for our audience on that while we wait for questions?
Well, I think it's important that we remember with the various generations that you have to have a different approach with each of them as well. Baby boomers kind of know what they're looking for, but they're also very set in their ways. They've always bought this, so that's what they want. They're looking for those blue-dyed carnations, or those or dozens or half dozen of roses, because that's what they've always seen. They're not always willing to look at other opportunities, where, like you said, on the opposite end with the millennials, they're looking for a more artistic, something that's recycled, repurposed, or reused. Quite often when I'm selling to a younger person, I would say, you know, one of the best ways to hold your costs down, do you have a vase that you would like to bring in for me to use for this particular order? That accomplishes two things. I get them in the store in front of me, and I'm selling something to them that I'm offering to not discount, because I don't discount my work, but to work with their budget or massage their budget to give a better presentation. And they love that. They love the opportunity to reuse something, and quite often they'll be, absolutely, I've got something I can drop off or come by. So look for ways with each of those generations to appeal to them. When we get in the middle with the older millennials, they have some of the baby boomer tendencies and some of the new millennial tendencies. So you really have to know who you're talking to and ask those probing questions. Allow them to guide you. Remember, we sort of have to be that psychologist or gypsy mind reader when we're working with the public on directing them, because when they walk in the door, they're looking for two things: flowers and a professional to guide them. Be that professional.
Very interesting, and thank you for pointing out also that millennials is not just one huge demographic. There's actually two segments to that. I believe from 19 to 29 and 29 to 39. So, and they obviously are in different stages in their lives. So it's a good thing that you pointed that out. So we're at the end of our session. We have about a minute left. I don't see any questions in the queue right now. So with that, I just want to thank you, Charlie, for spending time, and Jackie, for spending time with us today and presenting this webinar, Exploring New Sales Opportunities. If you have no more questions, please look out for an email from GoToWebinar that will provide you a click to the survey that will allow you to provide feedback to us about whether this webinar was useful or not, and the opportunity to recommend any new topics for us to cover. So with that, thank you everyone for your participation, and have a great day.